when you put it all into perspective, man, it really, really is remarkable. The far left propagandists in this country and their victims all over the internet. I mean, they all talk a really great game about lowering the temperature or tamping down the rhetoric, but these people, they didn't even last 48 hours, man. Some of them didn't even wait 5 minutes. You know, we had the lady on CNN who said that, you know, Trump getting up and pumping his fist and vowing to fight was the wrong message. I mean, that was somehow calling for violence or whatever. And the rest of them jump pretty quickly on the narrative that our real fear now are the crazy right-wingers who are going to be indiscriminately retaliating, right? These are not serious people. I mean, the world is still processing what happened, and there are still victims in the hospital. There's still a family that has very, very, very fresh, horrible grief. And the American media is right back to normal, man. They're just right back to normal, blaming Trump and vilifying Trump.
And yet this was also showmanship by a politician known for his mastery of what they call unscripted reality TV, taking this supremely visible seat in the VIP box with his new running mate and party leaders and a longtime TV personality, Tucker Carlson, up there as well last night. Here's how the New York Times put it. On the first night of this convention, Trump was his own biggest prop. He entered the VIP box, a large white bandage on his injured right ear, the result of a close call on Saturday with a would-be assassin's bullet. A reminder of mortality, a badge of survival. It was a blank rectangle on which the crowd could read what it wished, and that made it the most potent placard in the hall. That's fair. A placard for delegates to fill in, an image for political mobilization, a spectacle for this candidate who we know is, by his own admission, obsessed with assorted spectacles. These aren't normal times. This is not a normal convention. Whether that makes it abnormal in a way that is either special or abnormal in a way that is bad is what voters will assess, because many are watching over the course of these nights, along with you and our team here. There is a political quest here to mine and use Donald Trump's injury, and whether his allies and Republicans or the candidate himself do that in a way that overextends their credibility will be decided by the voters. That is one good thing we hope we can still agree on in this country, because this is both, as I said, a scary reality we all lived through this weekend and a political project.
I got to be honest, man, that is probably the most metered and reasonable take that came out of the left-wing media. But still, he said it nicely, but just listen to what the guy is actually saying. He's saying Donald Trump entering the arena and taking his seat in the VIP box after being shot in the ear, that it's just showmanship, that Donald Trump is just the master of the show and his shot off ear is his biggest prop. And it's going to be up to the voters, they say, to decide if this is good or this is bad. Just listen to these people, man. Even when they speak slowly and carefully, they come off, they're completely insane. Nothing will ever be enough for these people.
Let's start with last night in the bandaged. That's fine. Where I am at this point is it's been 3 days going on 4 since this horrific event occurred. A person lost their life, 2 have been severely injured, and yet we've not received a medical report from the hospital, nor have we received a medical report from the campaign or from the Trump organization about the extent of the damage to his ear. If he was shot by a high caliber bullet, there should probably be very little ear there. And so we'd like to know that. Is there cosmetic surgery involved? What is the prognosis for recovery? Were there stitches? What is the extent and nature of the damage to his ear? Was it caused by a bullet, as opposed to, as some reports from those on the scene, other reporters, saying that it was actually shards of glass from the teleprompter itself, not the bullet? So there are a lot of questions around that ear, and yet there's been no response to that. Instead, just showing the image of the man coming into the hall with the wounded ear.
Let me jump in on that.
Politics.
Let me jump in on that, and then we'll continue. We're looking at that photo. Michael Steele is correct. While there is a certain amount of time that could be understandable for any medical scenario, the calls around the current president's medical condition, the questions around his capacity, right, are also the same questions you have in a medical event like this. Certainly, the public would want to know as much as possible about both incidents, and the Trump campaign has not been the most transparent. So I think getting medical records and briefing on that at some point would be appropriate. That's what journalists often ask for.
Michael Steele, man, I mean, how can someone so unserious, man, and so unqualified apparently have ever been chosen as the head of the Republican Party? Michael Steele, he might actually have been the world's first true DEI hire, right? There's no other way to explain it. I mean, his concern, so he says, is the health of Donald Trump's ear. And I tried to find clips of him asking about a medical report regarding the health of Joe Biden's brain. I can't find it. Doesn't mean it's not there, but I can't find it. But here he is worrying about an ear. And I think that his point is that someone is lying, right? That Trump injured himself somehow. I think that's what he's trying to intimate. I don't know. But he also proves that he knows literally nothing about weapons. An AR-15, I understand it's very, very scary looking. And it's certainly it's dangerous in the hands of a crazy person that can outsmart the entire Secret Service. There's no doubt about that. But it is not high caliber, you know. But that's not even the point, right? The point that they're trying to make is that the Trump campaign has not been transparent about the health of Donald Trump's ear, and that somehow that is the same thing as the hidden truths about Biden's brain, right? MSNBC did not ask questions for almost 4 years about Donald Trump's brain, and they can't wait a couple days on Trump's shot off ear. I'm telling you, man, these are not serious people. And they've played a part in creating millions and millions and millions of other unserious, unstable, and basically untrustworthy fellow citizens.
Oh, it's a false flag.
False flag.
Yeah, false flag.
Somebody died and 2 people injured. What do you think about that?
False flag.
False flag.
I thought it was magnificently staged. It was professionally done. It almost looked real.
Wait. Staged by who?
Oh, by Mr. Trump, of course.
I think this whole thing is staged.
You think it was staged?
Yeah.
It depends on everybody's view. Yeah.
View of the assassination attempt? So you just thought it was fake?
Of course.
One person died in the crowd, 2 critically injured. What happened there?
Small price. It wouldn't matter to Trump. Do you think he cares if people die for him to be elected? That doesn't mean anything to Trump.
Can you imagine being crazy enough to even think something like that? These people, they're crazy enough to not just think it, but to actually say it. And I mean, like, really, really say it. They have it all thought out. You know, they think this was all staged. And I think, honestly, the average leftist really does believe that it is possible to shoot the top of your ear off from 150 yards on purpose. I mean, these are crazy, crazy people. And it's funny, really. I mean, these are the same people that would call you a conspiracy theorist. They're the very, very same people that would ask you to be so disgusted. They would ask you, how could you possibly support Donald Trump? He's a liar. He's a convict. He's a con man, whatever, however they want to label him, right? And they never, ever, ever really put it all together. Our support for Donald Trump has really, honestly, very, very little to do with Donald Trump himself. Our support for him has much, much more to do with the fact that there are people just like this standing on the other side.
You're disappointed that the shooter missed Donald Trump?
100%. No, well, nothing. He should have died. She doesn't like him as much as I do, but she's a little more sympathetic to people dying.
Do you think that the shooter was justified?
He did what he wanted to do.
Do you think it was justified? Like, do you think
In his eyes, I'm sure it was. But you know what? Since he missed, I can guarantee you there's going to be 100 people that are going to try to not miss.
Can you imagine being this guy's sympathetic wife? I mean, literally watching her husband sound like a deranged lunatic out loud, in public, and on camera, on the internet, man. I mean, this is what these people think is normal. And these are the people that are going to tell you that they support Joe Biden because of his goodness, because he's decent. And just, I mean, imagine this, man. If there are actually people sick enough to put a thing like that, what these people are saying out into the universe, imagine how many of them that there are that aren't brave enough to say it, but are going to think it, right? But it's insane. I mean, these people have been poisoned. They've been poisoned by a decade of insane propaganda, man. And these are the results. And the propagandists responsible for it, they're taking this stuff pretty hard. You know, their main worry, apparently, is that people will forget all of the insane things that they've been led to believe and that they're going to view Donald Trump, the target of an assassin, as any kind of victim, right? Just listen to this complete, total insanity.
I will say that the kind of universal kind of reaction that I'm getting, whether it's civilians or, professionals, is really a deep concern and lack of confidence in not us at this table or us at MSNBC, but us as the media writ large. And a fear that what's going to happen now is that the Republican Party will do what they do. They're in the middle of a campaign. The convention started today. But the media will acquiesce to trying to convince people that the things they've been experiencing for the last 5-6 years didn't happen. That the greatest purveyor and promoter of political violence, really, since anyone can remember, since George Wallace, I think, that we just haven't experienced that kind of open, sort of citing or sort of incitement of violence or sort of luxuriating in the idea of violence. It's just not something we're used to anymore in American politics. And then we had to get used to that being a thing. And people are concerned and expressing concern that we won't be the guardians of memory and that we will allow Donald Trump, as he is, bathed in the glory and grandeur of his party, to rewrite himself as both a hero and a victim, that people who are the most vulnerable to not just the things he's done, but the things he's promising to do, and that will then happen without a guardian saying, wait, stop. And then the media will acquiesce to this rewrite. And the people that I've been talking to don't accept the rewrite. They still remember that this person said, get him out, I'll pay your legal fees. They still remember that Republicans like Marjorie Taylor Greene did ads where they had long guns and were firing at pictures of Nancy Pelosi and have been promoting the idea that the Democrats, the left, the liberals, it'll be peaceful, said the Heritage Foundation leader, if the left allows it. People haven't forgotten those threats, and they don't want us to forget them either.
And at the
They just can't turn it off, man. I mean, they really, really, really want you to believe. They need you to believe that Donald Trump is responsible for all of the insane things that these people have poisoned other people's minds with, right? And they want to tell you, don't forget, Donald Trump is the most hateful person since George Wallace. They want you to believe that whatever happens to him, he's got coming. And they think that they've proven it to you. They think that you believe that he's a dictator and he promises a bloodbath and he led an insurrection. They think that you actually believe this stuff, and they want to make sure that you continue to believe it. They think that your real concern is that the Joy Reids of the world will somehow allow people to forget that Donald Trump deserved it, that he brought it all on himself. This is what these lunatics are saying. I mean, you don't even have to read much between the lines. This is what these people are saying. Joy Reid's out there saying people haven't forgotten what a threat Donald Trump is. And this was on Monday night. This was not even 48 hours after it happened, man. Well, it's a little over 48 hours, but this is insane, right? And this, by the way, this is from the same network that took Joe Scarborough off the air because they just didn't trust him and his horrible wife to not say something disgusting. And honestly, I cannot speak to Joy Reid. I cannot possibly imagine that she actually believes the thing that she says. But it really does appear that some of these crazies in the media actually believe the nonsense. They view themselves as some sort of heroes for sowing all this division, which they don't actually think is their responsibility.
When she says, the left told me to hate Trump, but when you cut through the lies, you'll realize that life was better under him. That's a resonant argument for a lot of people. Now, of course, you have to discount the fact that there was a 100-year pandemic and everything that resulted from that. But if you clip that and put it on Instagram among, the people that follow her, that could pick up a lot of traction. That resonates with folks.
Well, sure. And, I would love to ask you, what lies? I guess one thing you could say when I cut through the lies, what lies are those? And then please tell me, how do you counter those lies you're talking about with the actual data that's there? We can talk about the emotions because economics are emotional. And if people don't feel it, I get it.
In fairness, the left has vilified Donald Trump.
I'm sorry, define vilified.
you can argue the merits, but in fairness, the left has vilified Donald Trump. Threat to democracy, that he's a...
Is that a vilification or
he's
an
a proto-fascist?
Is that a vilification? And I don't mean to argue with you, Jeff, but I disagree with this notion that the left has vilified Donald Trump. The left has pointed out multiple things he has done as president, has said as president, as a candidate for the presidency again, that deserve to be pointed out, deserve to be criticized. That's not vilification. That's acknowledging what is there for everyone to see. Now, if someone had called him, all sorts of names, in addition to that, then the name calling, I would say, is vilification. But the substance of what people are talking about, you can't call that vilification when you're hammering the guy on what he proposes for the country and to do to the country.
But they don't do that. I think that this guy might actually believe that he does that, but they don't. And because of people just like this guy, uninformed, intellectually compromised voters actually believe that Donald Trump is out there pushing this Project 2025 nonsense. I mean, they don't even actually care about Agenda 47. They don't actually care what he actually has done or plans to do. They just care about convincing their victims that he is a would-be dictator who led an insurrection and he promises a bloodbath if he isn't elected. And these same people believe, this guy appears to actually believe that they haven't vilified Donald Trump. And it's not just them, man. It is literally right from the top.
The view is that Trump and the MAGA Republican agenda is a threat to democracy. So how do you get that message across while bringing the temperature down? How is that phrasing going to be replaced? Is it going to be replaced?
Well, look, what I can say is this. We have our differences, and it's okay to have our differences. And it is okay to speak to someone's record, to speak to someone's character. That is the difference of, that is important to be able to do, to show, right, what the American people, what you're all about. We're just going to continue to denounce violence. It is important to do that, forcefully be against violence. Political violence has no place in America. It should not be. It does not have a place here. The president's going to continue to be very, very forceful about that. But we have a difference of agenda. That is the truth.
She almost can't even bring herself to denounce it. I mean, just don't forget, these are the same people that bailed out rioters from jail, the same people that promised unrest in the streets as long as there's unrest in our lives. And she almost can't even say it. And I would bet you, man, I believe that, I think most of these people wish that if they're going to be putting out all these empty platitudes about, hoping Trump is well and all this stuff, I bet a good portion of them actually wish that it was after a successful attempt. That would be my guess, but I don't give them much benefit of the doubt. But, what I hear them saying right now is they don't want to unify the country. They say they want to talk about records and character. And just think about that. The people who are running a lifelong racist, plagiarist, segregationist, complete liar, who couldn't even recognize a seventh grandchild till she was almost 5 years old and has literally destroyed the nation in every single measurable way. They think that they want to talk about character and record. That's insane, man. That is so insane. The more and more people are actually waking up every single day. And I got bad news, man. When Lester Holt is one of the people who start to wake up, you might be in trouble.
Let's talk about the conversation this has started, and it's really about language, what we say out loud and the consequences of those. You called your opponent an existential threat on a call a week ago. You said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but I think you appreciate that.
I didn't say crosshairs. I was talking about focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was, what I guess I was talking about at the time was, there was very little focus on Trump's agenda.
Yeah, the term is bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing. Focus on his policies. Focus on the number of lies he told in the debate. There's a whole range of things that, look, I'm not the guy that said, I want to be a dictator on day one. I'm not the guy that refused to accept the outcome of the election. I'm not the guy who said that won't accept the outcome of this election automatically. You can't only love your country when you win. And so the focus was on what he's saying, and I mean, the idea.
But have you taken a step back and done a little soul searching on things that you may have said that could incite people who are not balanced?
Well, I don't think, look, how do you talk about the threat to democracy, which is real, when a president says things like he says? Do you just not say anything because it may incite somebody? Look, I have not engaged in that rhetoric. Now, my opponent is engaged in that rhetoric. He talks about there'll be a bloodbath if he loses, talking about how he's going to forgive all the, actually, I guess, suspend the sentences of all those who were arrested and sentenced to go to jail because of what happened in the Capitol. I'm not out there making fun of, like, remember the picture of Donald Trump when Nancy Pelosi's husband was hit with a hammer, joking about it?
These people just cannot take responsibility for their own actions, man, or for their own words. I mean, even in an interview that is literally about toning down the rhetoric, still, Joe Biden pushes the debunked and insane bloodbath garbage. I think he might actually believe it. He's probably never seen the clip. He just believes what his aides tell him. He must believe it. But still, even if he believes that, he's still promising all the faithful Democrats that Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy. I mean, this is the guy who promised to unite the country, and this is his interview that was about unification, meant to denounce the attempt of a president's life. What an epic fail, man. And I have a feeling, here's what I think. I think Donald Trump is going to take this opportunity, man. He's going to wear the responsibility for uniting the country. I think Thursday night is going to be, I believe, a monumental speech, and I think it has the opportunity to be a major shift, right? I believe the Democrats don't see what the country needs right now. They're just sticking to the script. They're offering no solutions, and they're not even playing their part well. They do not care. It's all pretend.
I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors. We're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're fellow Americans. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back, take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured. I spoke with him last night. I'm grateful. He's doing well, and Jill and I keep him and his family in our prayers.
I think he got the platitudes right. Here's where I thought it was lacking. He said the political rhetoric's gotten too hot, and we got to cool it down. And what I wanted him to say was, and you know what, that means me too. Donald Trump is a genuine threat to this nation. He's a threat to our freedom. He's a threat to our democracy. He's literally a threat to everything America stands for. And a few days later, it's time to put Donald Trump in the bullseye. Now, if the President of the United States had said, I bear some responsibility here, and I'm going to do my part, this would have been a home run. He didn't do that. Instead, he spread it all around, which I guess is as far as he's willing to go. But let me tell you how Republicans are going to take that. They're going to take that as a president who has repeatedly said, I want to heal the soul of the nation, and the buck stops here, but with an unwillingness to acknowledge some of the things that he has said to bring us to a place that he says we're in. So I'm not, look, let me stipulate two things. I'm praying for Joe Biden. I have been since the debate. We got to do better. And I'm praying for this country because what happened to Donald Trump was an assault on our democracy, and we should all be mad as Americans because that's what happened. But I need the president to take some responsibility.
Can I ask you a question, though?
Yes.
Look, I feel your passion, and you are restrained compared to the feelings of a lot of people in your party who are very hurt and very mad. I think on our side, though, the passion should also go to Donald Trump. If you want to go through all the mean, terrible stuff he said, there's not the day to go through it. It's a pretty big pile too.
I'd like to respond to that.
Okay, please do.
But because you're right. Mm-hmm. And this week is the greatest opportunity for a modern presidential candidate since 9/11, for our president or a presidential candidate to unite this country and put us in a better place.
What are the
Donald
chances
Trump,
that's going to happen?
I don't know. I hope good. But Donald Trump has the leverage. He has the capital. He has our attention. And he has the moment. He has the moment.
I can't even imagine being Scott Jennings, man. He has got to be absolutely losing his mind working in the insane asylum that CNN has become. I mean, these are sick people. And honestly, man, Scott Jennings is doing amazing work, man. I couldn't do it. I would absolutely lose my mind with these people. I'd completely lose my mind. But he's absolutely right. This is a massive opportunity for Trump to actually show everything it is that we, the conservatives, the MAGA movement, Republicans, whatever you want to call them, what we actually stand for. We stand for truth. We stand for right. We stand for justice. And, you know, Biden wants to talk about Trump pardoning J6ers as some sort of defect, right? But if you look at J6, every single reasonable person came out and denounced it. They denounced what happened. They weren't going on TV and trying to justify it, right? And these people, even some of the allegedly sane ones, are literally pushing this insanity that Trump's own words that have never, ever been reported fairly or honestly, by the way, but his own words are what's responsible. And honestly, I think we're in a moment where people actually see truth, and they're going to see Donald Trump speak, and they're going to get to juxtapose that with the desperation of the left.
What is that change going to look like, Don? What practically, your father as president, I think you would even say, was a divisive figure. What's it going to look like in the second term?
I don't think he was a divisive figure at all. I think the media created divisiveness around him. They lied about Russia collusion. They said he was a traitor. They went after him in every which way as possible. If the media actually starts being an honest broker, talking about the things that he did, the prosperity he brought, the peace deals that he signed around the world, rather than the disaster that we're living right now, I think you'd do everyone in the country a big favor.
I know immigration's important to him. I covered the family separation crisis closely. Will we continue to see policies like separating 5,000 children deliberately from their parents?
You mean the Obama administration?
You know they didn't do that, sir.
Okay, sure.
Will there be a second family separation policy?
It's MSDNC, so I expect nothing less from you clowns. Even today, even 48 hours later, you couldn't wait. You couldn't wait with your lies and with your nonsense. So just get out of here.
This is how you have to handle these people, man. These are not serious people. And really, you know, they're a pretty interesting mix to study. You know, some of them, I'm not sure how many, but some of them actually know that they're liars. They know that they're just very efficient propaganda arm for one political party over another. They're beholden to agenda. They're devoted to agenda. That's it. I think a lot of these people actually know that. But I also think an alarming number of them, they don't know. They actually seem to believe this garbage that they push. They actually think that they're doing their job. You know, this guy, I mean, just one example, seems to actually have no clue about Obama's kids in cages, probably has even less clue about the tens of thousands of missing kids that we have in the country just over the last few years. Probably doesn't even know about the kids literally dying during child labor here in America in the year 2024. They have giant blinders on. All they see, all they hear, all they report is literally nothing but Donald Trump. And it's truly freaking insane, man. And we have to push back. If we can't push back in this moment against this kind of evil with everything that we have on our side right now, if we can't beat them now, we're never, ever going to win. I mean, this is the moment, and we have all the right pieces.
You have a Democrat media that has called a Republican president a tyrant, a dictator, said it would be the end of the United States of America as we know it, said he would make us a laughingstock on the global stage. And those are exact quotes, actually, of what they said about Abraham Lincoln. Saw the Lincoln hat, you might have wanted me to remember that. Those were words that the Democrat-led media said about the first ever Republican president before he was shot and assassinated in 1865. So think about that in the moment that we live in today. We came within, I mean, Lincoln actually spoke at this convention. It was at a Republican convention. It was at a state convention, Republican state convention, I think in 1858, when he said a house divided cannot stand. That was on the eve of a nation that was on the brink of civil war. That's right. I think we came within a hair's breadth of a second civil war in this country and we avoided it. Yes. And I think it's because God intervened. And I believe that he has given us a chance to answer his call.
Amen. He's absolutely right, man. He said it great. But we have an opportunity to answer the call, and we have to, man. This insanity cannot continue, man. And like I said, we have all the right pieces, and you have the right pieces like J.D. Vance, when every single one of them is hated by all the right evil people, right? By all the corrupt forces. And this is the moment, slandering Donald Trump didn't work. Impeachments didn't work. Trials and charges, that hasn't worked. The most extreme measures possible didn't work. And if they can't stop him with all that, there is no possible way on this planet that they're going to stop him with Joe Biden. There's just no possible way. I mean, there is no dog big enough to wag to pull that off. But that's just my take, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.